During the 1960s, Cheong Soo Pieng examined the developments of various Western art trends, including lyrical abstraction, the Bauhaus, St. Ives School, and other European contemporary art movements. This opened the door to a whole new horizon of thinking, and by the 1970s, Cheong Soo Pieng arrived at the most gloriously inventive period of his artistic career. Facilitated by this new mode of thinking, he broke away from the shackles of observing nature with the naked eye and was able to engage with a broader range of ideas and expressions. The composition is not a mere representation of the scene before his eye or an abstract visual image. It is an incorporation of various stimuli and sensory responses that he would have also experienced from the surrounding environment. Cheong Soo Pieng constructed his multi-dimensional pictorial expression through a montage method. The composition is divided into individual modular frames, which connect, juxtapose, or overlap, generating new relationships and meanings among the different elements. This form of compositional approach facilitates the expressions of complex and multi-dimensional humanistic thoughts. The pictorial handling might be considered revolutionary in its own right. By this point, Cheong Soo Pieng had eradicated all shadows of his predecessors and arrived at his own distinct visual language. In the 1970s, Cheong Soo Pieng liked to express landscape scenes from an aerial perspective, as if evoking the visuals of a map. In red motion, we can imagine the golden components as the urban areas of a city. These are sectioned by a lattice of sinewy lines, which perhaps represents the urban root system. At the heart of every city is a city center, which in this case is denoted by a dark red square in the middle of the picture. The parts outside the goal area thus represent the suburbs outside the city, with routes that intersect throughout the countryside. Along the middle top is a golden square that represents the sun in the sky. This is one of his abstract expressions of a city landscape. Boasting a color scheme anchored by red and gold, this work is utterly magnificent and captivating. This work presents an aerial view of a terrain. Along the upper middle is a black square that symbolizes, perhaps, one of the Indian Buddhist monuments that are commonly spotted around Southeast Asia. Around the monument are farmlands, houses, forests, rivers, and etc. In the lower section, we see the coastline and a series of scribbly lines that resembles Sanskrit or JavaScript. With this single work, Cheong Soo Pieng projects the origins of Southeast Asian culture by probing into its ancient roots, the region's dependence on sea trade, and the confluence of Indian and Islamic influences. At first glance, this work reminds us of the black and white television in the 1970s. There are elements present in this work that recall certain classic photographs captured during the Apollo program. For instance, the top section of the composition evokes the moment of Earthrise. There also appear to be buildings engineered by humans on the moon's surface. The middle section of the composition is split into three scenes. The left seems to show an astronaut walking on the moon. The middle appears to be a view of a distant planet as captured from the cockpit of a spacecraft. And the right may represent the undulating terrains of the moon. while to its most right is a symbol that represents the Chinese character rabbit in cursive script. Perhaps Cheong Soo Pieng was trying to depict a kampong on the moon, meaning he imagined a human settlement on the moon. Meanwhile, the lower section is divided into 4 scenes, which may be the reflections of scenes from the vast outer space in the 4 directions of north, south, east, and west. Cheong Soo Pieng also added a special material to the paint, which gives the black color a captivating sheen when the piece is viewed under a spotlight, resulting in an otherworldly outer space atmosphere. We see a window with 2 panels on each side. Each side is flanked by a vertical column with 4 glasses, each reflecting individual compositions. These 8 glasses appear to reflect compositions from Cheong Soo Pieng's past paintings. In contrast, the scene occupying the upper middle of the composition shows the present, which is the scenery from outside the window, as we can see the sun motif that often appeared in other landscape works. The lower middle part reveals the movement of a new composition being formed in Cheong Soo Pieng's mind, thus representing the future. Perhaps this work captures a moment of thought that flashed through the artist's mind, hence his expression of the entire painting in black and white. Cheong Soo Pieng first glued a layer of Chinese newspapers onto the base material. He then pasted very thin strips of silver paper onto the newspaper and coordinated them to form various patterns. There are 2 circular elements here, one large and one small. The large surrounding circle appears a bit like a moat. Perhaps the small circle on the inside represents the center of a city? Could it be that Cheong Soo Pieng was interrogating the nature of Singapore society and what constituted its social fabric? In the 1970s, the significance of Chinese education and identity was cast into question with the cessation of Chinese stream education in Singapore schools. This turn in national outlook drove a deep fault line that left the Chinese-educated Singaporeans hurt and disappointed. Could this be the artist's way of making a symbolic gesture? Perhaps Cheong Soo Pieng wanted to suggest that the ethnic Chinese population underpinned the development of the Singapore society and contributed to its character and progress. In the composition, the walls that appear to separate the inside from the outside signify the divide between the English and Chinese-educated Chinese Singaporeans. As an ethnic Chinese who spoke no English and a Chinese-born artist who melded East-West traditions, Cheong Soo Pieng might have harbored strong feelings regarding this social change at the time. Of course, we could just interpret the work as a simple cityscape. Such is the enchantment of an abstract work. The viewer's participation in decoding and understanding the work is necessary to the subsequent birth of its meaning. If we were to judge an artist's achievements based on the artistic language he invented, then these abstract works from the 1970s speak for the pinnacle of Cheong Soo Pieng's career. Although he barely left any explanation regarding the meanings of these works while he was alive, we can use our imagination to interpret and unlock the meanings of these works one by one. It is evident that Cheong Soo Pieng engaged with a very broad range of ideas and was well aware of the complex dynamics that bound him, an immigrant artist with his new homeland. From the early figurative paintings depicting Nanyang life to the 70s abstract works that reflect on the cultural essence and contemporary social developments in the region, Cheong Soo Pieng's works are undoubtedly rich with humanistic sentiments.